barrier.
Well, the shocking deaths of Anthony Bourdain and Kate Spade this week are refocusing awareness on suicide. New numbers from the CDC show 45,000 Americans died by suicide in 2016 alone. It's now one of the top 10 causes of death in the United States.
Men are 3 to 5 times more likely to kill themselves. The highest rate of suicide happens among adults in middle age, between 45 to 65 years old. And more than half the people who die by suicide do not have a diagnosed mental health condition. Nurse Alice Benjamin is a clinical nurse specialist, and she's here now to talk this through with us a bit. And there's always a concern when you have celebrities who kill themselves and what it might do for the general public and people who are stressed and feeling some negative thoughts themselves.
Exactly. So you have people who kind of, quote unquote, had a perfect life out there committing suicide, and you then have people at home like, wow, I don't have half those things. I'm not in a relationship, and they start to focus on their losses, and they start to think about, you know what, maybe I should just end it all. And that's actually what we don't want to happen in this situation. So these unfortunate things happen, but it actually now opens the door to have conversation and to review processes and places for suicide prevention measures.
You talk about the doubling of calls to crisis hotlines here. Is this normal when things like this, when stories like this are out?
Absolutely, because it actually gives people the permission to address their feelings, and then it also prompts conversations in the family, in the neighborhoods, in the churches to explore and check on people to see how they're doing. Because more than not, these people actually don't want to hurt themselves. They just don't want to feel pain. And so that's really what's the thought behind suicide, just not feeling pain. They don't necessarily want to hurt themselves or hurt others, but they just want to feel numb.
What are some of the warning signs we should look out for as friends and family of someone who might be suffering?
Right. So that's an interesting question, because if someone's acutely suicidal, you may not see any signs or symptoms. These people are actually can be very high functional, and you will not have a clue that they're interested in ending their life. Now, for those who may have thought about this, and I'll say this, 9 million people in the United States consider or think about suicide. 1 million attempt it. And then as we saw the figures, 45,000 in 2016 were able to complete it. So you need to look for other signs. It might be changes in their sleep patterns. Maybe they're sleeping more. Maybe they're isolating themselves. They're giving away their valuable possessions, or they're feeling very hopeless. And now with social media the way that it is, sometimes there are subtle calls for help on social media that we may miss. So we want to look for those things and have conversations about how someone is doing. Even if they look high functional, everything looks perfect, just check in on them. Say, you know, things look well for you, but, you know, is everything okay? Is there anything going on that you want to talk about?
You want to have the conversation. It's a very difficult conversation to have, but some of the symptoms that you just listed are, you know, teenagers sleep a lot. I mean, how do you know to react without overreacting?
Right. In this situation, I don't think you can overreact, right? Hindsight's always 20/20. We would rather you overreact than miss subtle signs and symptoms. So as an emergency room nurse, everyone that comes into my emergency room, even if they're here for an earache, I am, as part of my role, to ask them, have you had any suicidal thoughts or ideations? Do you have a plan? Or do you have any measures at home? Like, do you have a gun in your home? Do you have drugs in your home? Even if they're there for an earache, because you never know what someone's going through by just looking at them.
And just asking that question is so important.
Absolutely.
Nurse Alice, thank you. We appreciate it.